better understand how all the basic types of living things are classified, let us begin by taking a look at the 5 kingdoms of life. Every living thing is made up of at least one cell. Although most cells are so small they can only be seen under a microscope, they are still the basic building blocks of life. A drop of water from a pond can contain millions of living things of many different types, and many are made up of only one cell. These one-celled organisms are the simplest living things and belong to either one of 2 kingdoms. The one-celled members of the kingdom Monera contains the smallest and most ancient forms of life. Some of today's Monerans look almost exactly like the fossils of the earliest forms of life that first appeared on Earth over 3 billion years ago. Monerans are unique because their single cells lack separate nuclei within their cytoplasm. Monerans can be animal-like, such as these bacteria that must absorb food in order to survive. Some of these Moneran bacteria cause serious diseases in other living things. But some are helpful and live in the intestines of human beings where they produce needed vitamins. Members of this kingdom, the Protists, are very tiny living things that were once called the protozoa. These creatures are much larger than bacteria and have only one cell. But unlike Monerans, their cells have a separate nucleus, and the cytoplasm of their cells is much more complicated than Moneran cells. Just as with the Monerans, there are animal-like protists, such as this Euploides, that can actively seek out food. Euploides and Paramecia are like animals because they cannot make their own food. One-celled algae are the protists that are like plants. They can make their own food by photosynthesis. These algae are very important because they provide food for many other life forms, and they also make huge amounts of oxygen. For the oceans and other bodies of water are filled with these tiny creatures. Some of these simple plants move about just as swiftly as animal-like protists, and many clump together to create colonies of cells, a feat which probably led to the creation of the many-celled creatures found in all of the 3 other kingdoms of living things. The members of this kingdom that we are most familiar with are the fungi that grow on the sides of old dead trees, and mushrooms. Unlike protists and Monerans, fungi are formed from many different cells. Fungi cannot make food by photosynthesis, so they must spend their whole lives embedded in their food supplies. Even mushrooms are embedded in the earth and have a huge underground network of threads by which they take in nutrients. Of all living things, plants are probably the most important to humans. Like fungi, plants are complicated organisms made from many cells. Plants, just like certain Monerans and protists, can trap the energy of the sunlight and convert it into food, and into oxygen for us to breathe by photosynthesis. The fact that true plants do not have to search for food causes them to spend their entire lives pretty much in one spot. But plants do move their bodies so they can capture the most sunlight. This movement just happens so slowly we can't see it. Like plants and fungi, true animals are complicated creatures made from many cells. Animals like fungi and certain Monerans and protists cannot carry out photosynthesis. Instead, they must take in food to survive. Because they must find food, they are much more active than plants. And the variety of body types and feeding styles found in the animal kingdom is truly unbelievable.